shouldn't.
Okay, we're going live. Thank you, everyone. Sorry about that. We discovered we did not have live feed. We immediately stopped talking policy, and our committee assistant did confirm that everything was captured up until that moment. So I think we are good to continue, but I do forget where we were.
I think the discussion was around, are all firearms included within this definition of firearms when you're talking about the waiting period and the safe storage requirements? And the answer is no, because it tracks, the definition of firearms tracks the definition that's used in a number of other places in Vermont statute, and that excludes, and this also, I should point out, tracks the federal definition too. This is sort of what this is based on, the idea that what the feds and Vermont also define as an antique firearm are excluded. So firearm generally means any weapon, including a starter gun, that will or is designed to or may readily be converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive, the frame or the receiver of such a weapon, or any firearm muffler or firearm silencer. But it doesn't include a antique firearm, which is defined as, you can see, firearms manufactured before 1898, including matchlock, flintlock, etc. Any replica of any one of those firearms. C is muzzle loading rifles, muzzle loading shotguns, pistols designed to use black powder, and that sort of thing. So those sorts of.
Okay, so there's nothing now that would identify a hunting rifle.
Correct. Right.
But that could be done.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm trying to get rid of problems or try to bring them out. And on page 2, and it's in other places too.
Yep.
But what I'm worried about is line 15. Causes the weapon to discharge. The scenario that I had mentioned before, whether the person is, if they're over 18 and they leave the hunting camp and they shoot the weapon, that's causing it to discharge. Am I liable?
If the initial criteria.
If it's my hunting camp, I'm liable, right?
Oh, no, sorry. Did you say over 18?
Well, yeah, I did say over 18.
Under
18, I'm not liable.
Correct. 18 and over, you're not liable.
Right.
Under 18.
Under 18, I am liable.
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing.
Yep.
The other one is likely to gain access.
Where can you show what line that is?
Well, it starts off on the first page. That's when I noticed it, but it's around the other parts of the bill. It's on line 18. Is likely to gain access. I don't know what that means. And I'm wondering if that has to be defined.
That's a policy decision for you as to whether you want to flesh that term out. I will say that in these safe storage statutes, it's a commonly used concept and commonly used term, but you're right to note that it's the kind of thing that's going to be dependent on the facts. And it's going to be the kind of thing that a law enforcement officer in the first instance and the state's attorney is going to have to decide that the facts rise to the level of probable cause to believe that they can prove that. So that based on whatever facts there were, the firearm was kept in the below the sink in a cabinet. I'm just using this as an extreme example, just to kind of show that what are the sorts of facts that they're going to be looked at. Well, where was it? Was it in a way stored in a kind of place where a child could easily grab it? Was it not? Or was it in a place that was, you should know that children frequently either visit or live in your home, and therefore it's very likely that they're going to have access to firearms if they're around, you know? On the other hand, maybe they don't visit very often. And it's not the sort of situation where a reasonable person would think that a child would have access. Maybe it was for example, it could be the situation where you had guests and they accessed it in a place that would be very surprising, whatever it might be. So you're right that it is fact dependent and going to depend on what level of
So the
evidence.
Attorney General or the state's attorney or whoever, they're gonna determine that, whether it was likely that that individual could gain access.
Yeah, it's their cause. It's the way criminal law works. Exactly. They have to make that initial determination. If they're going to charge somebody, they have to be convinced that they're going to be able to prove it. And at least in the first instance, if there's probable cause, at least to establish that the facts are those.
Okay, I got one more.
Yeah.
On page 4, line 3 through 7. The way that reads to me is Vermont law requires gun on, that means now, right?
Yes.
I mean, that is in existence as we sit here.
Well, no, this is the proposed, yeah, it would be, if that sort of assumes that the bill passes. This is what has to be in the sign.
So it doesn't exist.
No, correct.
The sign that has to be on this.
Because the way it read,
Right, if you just read it on its own, I could see why it might make you think that, but right, in the context of the whole
if the bill
sign,
passes, that's,
Right.
bingo.
So, and I think I would like to maybe suggest that when we have Chris Bradley come back and testify on Monday.
Not Monday.
Tuesday, sorry. Tuesday, if there's thoughts around education material that would be appropriate or that may be happening today in FFLs, if you have that information, if you don't, that's fine. Or if you don't want to testify on that, that's fine too.
We do.
But, okay, great. That would be helpful. Art?
Yeah, again, testing your knowledge of statute is very good.
Oh, thank you, but not perfect, I was the first to say.
Disabled weapon, a weapon that you, like,
It's on my jacket.
the full disclosure, which you'll be soon to say, but I have 3 hunting rifles on a rack in my office.
Okay.
Secured in any way, they're just there. However, if I took something and disabled, put a trigger lock, put something on it, is there anything that says in statute that that's now not a firearm in this tech context?
You mean
Or-
right now, under existing law?
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering why that won't work, I guess, instead of locking a gun up.
Right.
But I mean, if there's no distinction now, then we gotta change things, I guess, in the bill. That's,
Right.
a trigger
I
line.
think that right under existing law, no, I don't think that would be excluded. I
Yeah.
think it would still be
Okay.
covered. It will, it's still designed to.
so there's nothing there for that,
Right,
right?
Currently.
Okay. Currently,
Yeah.
right,
yeah.
okay.
Daisy?
As a follow-up to that, so like if we want to go to the Shelburne Museum, I don't know if they still have it, they used to have a marvelous collection of antique firearms on display. Would we still be able to display antique firearms and things like that under this legislation?
Yes, I don't think it's going to affect display, as long as it's not a transfer, right? Under the proposal here, I think it's always sort of kicking in terms of secure storage. If, again, I suppose it depends how old they are, but the antiques are excluded. So, yeah, I don't know exactly, but they're excluded. Older guns, was it 1898? 1898, right? Or other types of sort of muzzle loading, that sort of thing those by definition are excluded. But I think, again, could you kind of goes back to the likely to gain access language that you were talking about. If they're under a sealed museum display, I almost think it doesn't need, the requirement might not even kick in. Are they really required? Even if you knew that kids came to the museum a lot, say. I'm not sure that the requirement would kick in the first place. And even then, it's probably not loaded, right? So it's probably separate from ammunition and might be in what might be viewed as a locked container.
Melissa?
No, I'm sorry. I think you might have just answered my question with the last sentence. I'm good. Sorry.
Bobby?
Well, I think, it's part of an answer to Art's question too, is that in the top of page 2, it says tamper-resistant mechanical lock or other safety device properly engaged. So I'm thinking like if the firing pin was removed, then the gun essentially can't work.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that count too as, a safety device that's properly engaged?
I think so, yeah, yep.
Good point.
It's actually kind of what I was.
So thank you, Eric, very much. We only have a couple minutes before we have to be on the floor. So we'll be coming back to this tomorrow after the floor. And what I'd like the committee members to do is read through it and come back with suggestions. We'll go through each section, come back with your suggestions. If you are interested in making changes, if there are other people you need to hear from, we will be having, like I said, Chris Bradley, and on Tuesday, we'll be having, and I apologize to forget the person's name, also in on Tuesday from every town. What I would like to have before them on Tuesday is a draft that we have put our thoughts into. So we're going to work on that tomorrow morning. And then, Eric, you can be with us tomorrow morning, correct? I think
Yeah, if it's 11, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yep.
So we may have you drafting as we speak, or be able to get something out to the two folks who are coming in Tuesday to have a discussion based on input from the committee of what we are looking for in this bill. Alyssa?
Can we have Eric draft the findings and then we can?
Yes, can you
Go
add
through
the
that
findings
tomorrow?
before 11, Eric? Would that be possible?
Yes, yeah, they're pretty short and straightforward if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
Great. And then send us out a new draft. That would be great.
Right.
Was that the copy that,
We took pieces of it.
oh, you're,
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone. Claire, we can